Everyone, back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the aftermath. This is the show we do when the dust has settled from Newcastle's last game and the instant post-match reaction, which is normally very instant, very fiery, very passionate. And in particular, it certainly was on this one because this was the worst performance I have seen from Eddie Howe's Newcastle United in a long time, arguably ever since he took the job, to be brutally honest with you. And there's some serious alarm bells going off for me with this football club right now. And I'm going to get stuck into this. Just before I do, if you haven't smashed that subscribe button, help get us to the next milestone, which is 12,000. We're only about 150 away. So give us some love if you can, guys. But what the hell happened yesterday to Newcastle United was a combination of things, really, and it's a bit like a Pandora's box of shit, whereas when you open it, just everything comes flying out. But the biggest problem yesterday was Newcastle United went to the London Stadium against a team that was 19th in the Premier League who couldn't buy a win. They haven't won there since February or something at that ground. And we made them look like a top four side. We were absolutely abysmal in every possible way. Our aggression was non-existent. Our passing was wayward. Our big players shrunk and didn't show up. The players that Eddie Howe continuously puts faith in, regardless of form, were absolutely lifting yesterday. They really, really were. A couple in particular, which I'm going to get stuck right into. Nick Pope, all of the great work Nick Pope has done since Ramsdale arrived at the club, that added competition, really stepped his game up. He looked like tracing paper yesterday in them goals. I know people will say, oh, Chris, he made a couple of really good saves. It could have been 5 or 6-1 if it wasn't for Pope. Look what he did on the goals. If your goalkeeper's going to fuck up like that in the 2 goals, then I'm sorry, but you have to start questioning his place in this starting lineup. There's no point in us taking the piss out of Onana at Manchester United for doing things like that and then praising Nick Pope for doing things like that. That's not how I work. I don't have double standards like that. What I saw yesterday from Nick Pope in terms of his strength as a goalkeeper was really concerning in them 2 goals in particular, especially the last one. What on earth was he doing there? I really don't understand it. But we'll get stuck into the biggest issues, I think, that come from the game. I did enough about the game yesterday. This is a combination of things for Newcastle United. This isn't just about West Ham away, right? We are atrocious away. We have not started this Premier League season well at all. Forget about the Champions League, where we look like we're more comfortable. We look like we belong there a little bit more. Our bread and butter, what keeps the lights on, the Premier League, Newcastle United have not turned up. The start of the season, yes, it was completely distracted and thrown into disarray because of the Alexander Isak saga, strikers knocking us back, us not bringing players in. Now, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. If we'd got Ekitike in, for example, at that particular time, and then Isak went to Liverpool, would we be in a better position now? Possibly, because Ekitike would have played the first couple of games. Newcastle probably scored the winning goals and put us in a much better position. Even if Nick Voltemade had come in at the first game of the season, we probably would have scored more goals to win more games because he's been excellent since he come in. But the big issue that we have, that caused problems. It isn't just not having Alexander Isak's creativity, his spark, his pace. Neither did Liverpool now, by the way, to be honest with you. Sorry, I couldn't help that, Liverpool fans. Had to get that in. But we're not just missing Alexander Isak in the final third. We're also missing anybody else in the final third. Anthony Gordon has not turned up in the Premier League, not just this season, for a long fucking time, right? Anthony Gordon has not got a Premier League goal or assist in 19 Premier League games. That's England's #1 left winger, apparently. 19 Premier League games. This guy has not got a goal or an assist. What in the name of fuck is that about? And then you go, oh, we'll replace him with Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes gets goals and assists. 15 Premier League games for Harvey Barnes without a goal or an assist. You're going back to January for Gordon and April for Barnes. Now, that is really alarming, right? That's really worrying. We had the whole summer to plan targets, to go for targets and sign players. We seem to have spunked 55 million quid on a guy to take over from Jacob Murphy, who was getting goals and assists weekly. These two have massively underperformed. And, I'm not saying we should have signed the left winger, but holy fuck, maybe sign a guy that can play both sides. And you may say Anthony Elanga could do that, but Anthony Elanga is way below the standard that we were looking for to go up to the levels that we found ourselves at this season. In a summer where Mohamed Kudus was available and Semenyo might have been available, and even in Mbeumo, I know he went to Manchester United, but if Newcastle really wanted to go for that and threw a bit of money at it, maybe they could have got that deal done. But there was much better options than Anthony Elanga, in my opinion, in this window, and we went and got Anthony Elanga. And so far, it looks like money down the drain. I don't want to write the kid off too early. You might be screaming at me saying it sounds harsh, but he's a pace merchant. That's it. He's not got a touch. He's not got quality. He's not got composure. He can't cross a ball that well. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't put probing passes in. He's just fast. You know, we might as well sign Forrest Gump on the right wing. He can run. You know, that if that's all you wanted, you know, we needed more from a £55 million right winger than we're seeing from Anthony Elanga right now. And Jacob Murphy is playing with a knock. He's got a problem with his ankle. And you can see that with Murphy. He's still popping up with moments, goals and assists, but you can see he's carrying a knock and see he's struggling. And the £55 million man who's supposed to come in to replace him or challenge him is way below par. And that's a real issue. Gordon being MIA is a major problem. No point having your fancy hairband on, Gordon, and looking like you're a French international wonder winger if you're going to play like a fucking winger from, you know, Wigan in the Premier League. No offence to Wigan. They've probably got a better winger than we have at the minute. It's probably got better numbers. But Anthony Gordon seems to have fell in that trap of can't be arsed. You know, this game is beneath me. I don't really need to try. And you never thought that about Gordon. There was always effort. There was always determination. There was always drive. But I haven't seen this from Gordon in the Premier League. I see him running down the line. I see him cutting back in. I see him moving his shoulders. I don't see enough tricks to beat a man. We played Brighton the other week, and I still stand by this. A lot of fans think I'm mental to say it, right? Newcastle United selling Yankubin Minter to Brighton was one of the worst bits of business they've ever done. That kid had everything that we're lacking right now: spark, energy, quality, pace, ability. And we sold him for 30 million quid and kept people who are just going down in terms of their form. And that's really poor from the football club. Copy and paste Elliot Anderson as well. I'm going to get into Joe Linton right now. Joe Linton is a shadow of the player that he once was. Injuries are taking a toll. He's lost a yard or two of pace. You know, all these people are going, oh, yeah, he's smashed into a player. He's smashed into a player because normally his first touch is so fucking shit. The ball goes 5 yards from him and he has to smash into a player. Like, Joe Linton is good as a battering ram when you're up against Man City and you're seeing 20% of the ball, when you're up against prime Liverpool and you're seeing 20% of the ball. Joe Linton's great for that because he can smash into a player, set the tone, maybe wind them up, you know, get a bit of aggression in the game. But you're not seeing that from Joe Linton, even in those games now. You're not seeing that. People are just playing around him. They're popping 2 or 3 passes around him, and they've gone by him before he even realises they're fucking there. And you look at the other midfielders in this squad, and this is where Eddie Howe has to have the balls to make the big calls, as I've said in this title, right? You look at what Lewis Miley has done when he's come in. Every time Lewis Miley's come in this season, he looks calm, composed, he brings balance. You know, give me the ball, pop, pop, pass, you know, slow build-up play, draw the other teams out, and then hit the players with pace who can get in behind. Joe Linton can't do that. That's not his game. He's awful on the ball. His ball retention is horrendous. You know, you've got Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes who are levels above this guy in terms of with the ball. Off the ball, Joe Linton's a beast. He's a monster. He could probably run through my fucking brick wall here behind us and punch me in the head and run away, you know, because he's that much of a beast. But when you are the team that has the ball and the expectation is for you to break down sides that sit in 2 banks of 4 or 5, you have to have better quality on the ball than Joe Linton can offer. And I'm saying it time and time again, and other content creators are saying it time and time again, but Eddie Howe's blind loyalty to the likes of Joe Linton, and I'll get to Burn in a second, and Pope, all of these over loyalty to these players who he trusts complicitly and wholeheartedly, and I get it. They've been brilliant servants for the football club. No one's ever going to take away what Dan Burn, Joe Linton, Kieran Trippier, Nick Pope, what they've done for this football club. You know, even the guys who have moved on, Sean Longstaff, Callum Wilson, Mickey, all of these guys have a special place in Newcastle United fans' hearts because of what they've done for this football club. But they're not the right options anymore. They're not the right choices anymore. They're not giving the side what we need in those moments. And people talk about Eddie Howe being an elite manager, right? Elite managers make big calls, make tough calls. I always remember seeing, you know, when you get the class of 92 being interviewed, Gary Neville and Beckham and all these kind of players, Alex Ferguson was great at saying to them, listen, you're not going to play the weekend, but Galatasaray is your game. I need you for Galatasaray midweek. And they said he had this unique ability to make them not be upset that they were dropped at the weekend because they knew they were needed for this big Champions League game midweek. That's what Eddie Howe's lacking right now. These lads seem to think they're going to play week in, week out, regardless of their form and how bad they've been in the last game. And the fact that we've got a bigger squad and arguably on paper a better squad than we've had in the whole 4 years Eddie Howe's been here, that cannot be the case. It really can't. I know injuries have resulted in these decisions being made, with the likes of Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall being injured, which is a massive blow. But let's get it right. Eddie Howe would still stick Dan Burn at left back over Lewis Hall, which is a huge issue for me. Dan Burn has probably had the best 18 months of his career at centre-half, scoring in the cup final, representing England at centre-half. Thomas Tuchel's not putting him left-back, and you can say Thomas Tuchel's got more options to choose from, but Dan Burn is not a left-back. He's not in the modern game. You just need a winger with a slight commodity of pace, and Dan Burn is fucked. And this overlapping of the winger, when he gets up there, he's either got a bad first touch or he can't quite turn his body around quick enough. And if we get broke on and they're in the transition, we're fucked, because Dan Burn can't get back quick enough. We saw that with the second goal. We left space open and Botman slides in, puts it in the back of the net for an own goal. This is a real issue for Newcastle. This is something that other teams are targeting. But one of the biggest issues I have as well with this team, so Eddie Howe has to make some big decisions here. He's got to make some tough calls. This cannot go on. This over loyalty and sentimentality to these players. We've seen him do this before with Longstaff over Tonali, with Burn at left back the first time around. He has to change it. He has to change things. And what I saw in Nick Pope at the weekend, and what I've seen of Ramsdale, right? Ramsdale is very much a modern day keeper. When both your full-backs are injured, which they are right now, you don't have that ability to pop the ball to the right back or the left back and have them break with pace down the lines. We don't have that. Trippier's legs aren't there. He's 35. Burn ain't a left back, right? So even more reason to bring in a ball-playing goalkeeper who can ping a 40-yard crossfield pass to somebody making a run like he did with Joe Willock against Spurs. Ramsdale deserves his chance to start, and he should be in the team for me against Bilbao in a Champions League game, what you would class as a big, serious game. He was excellent against Spurs, great shot stopping, brilliant with his feet, brought a calmness to the back four that we haven't seen for a long time. I think Ramsdale needs to come in over Pope. This is his moment, and Ramsdale has to come in for me. But the midfield is massive. He has to get Joe Linton out of the side. Joe Linton is no longer the player that he was. He doesn't influence games the way they used to do. He's more of a liability than an asset. He makes stupid tackles, gets stupid yellow cards, loses the ball too much. You've got a young ball-playing midfielder in Lewis Miley who never loses the ball. You've got Jacob Ramsey, who's energy, pace, can get up and down the pitch, can do all that stuff, and he's not playing either one of them. And questions have to be asked why. Joe Linton is no longer a guaranteed starter in this team. He shouldn't be, and it winds me up that he is. And that needs to change. And Eddie Howe has to start that with Bilbao. Joe Linton can't be in the side. But Bilbao's not even that important anymore. The Premier League's more important. We're losing games in the Premier League. We're shit in the Premier League. We can't kick our own arse in our own league. If you think we're going to finish in the Champions League qualification spaces this season, you are in dreamland, my friend. That team is never finishing in the top 5 in this league unless big calls are made and big decisions are made. And also, what the fuck are we? What's our identity as a football club now? We used to be pressing, integrity or intensity was our identity. That's no longer there. We're not an intense side anymore. We'll go 1-0 up and then we sit back and we just chill out and read the newspaper and hope that the other team doesn't score a goal. I don't know if that's James Bunce's influence behind the scenes with his performance management shit, or if it's Eddie Howe, or if it's both collectively. But that does not work anymore. That tactic does not work. It does not work. And we can't do it anymore. We really can't do it anymore. We have to go for the throat. We have to get a second goal. We have to push. We have to do that. And we need to make sure we do it in the Premier League. No point doing the Champions League and the Cups and all that shit. We have to do it in the Premier League. That is the bread and butter. So that needs to be looked at as well. What is our identity anymore? Do we even have one anymore? Teams are figuring us out. We've changed the way we play. There's no Isak anymore. There's none of that explosive creativity, X factor that can score a crazy goal out of nothing. Nick Botman is a different player. He wants the ball to his feet, to his chest. He wants to hold it and bring players in. So by doing that, wingers, you need to get on your bikes and fucking go beyond them and wake up and make those runs. And Gordon's not making those runs. The only person who is Murphy right now. Barnes occasionally does it. He's had a couple of little bright moments, but Harvey Barnes is a player that needs a run in the side before you start seeing the best of him. Bringing him in and out, like the fucking hokey coke, he's not going to get you what you want out of Barnes. But Anthony Gordon is living a charmed existence, starting every game in the Premier League for me. The big players aren't showing up. The wingers haven't been doing it for fucking ages. Of those stats I've just told you before. This is a big concern for Eddie Howe and a big concern for the football club. And it needs to be addressed. We had a crisis meeting last season, I think, when we were at this particular moment. And another one is needed right now. Eddie Howe has to get a grip of this and quick one. The Premier League is still a little bit concertinaed, where 2 or 3 wins can put you back in the top 5, because there's going to be a gap period in the Premier League soon, and Newcastle will be drifting away if they can't get their shit together and win away from home, but also win with more confidence at home. You can't be leaving at last minutes against the likes of Fulhams and stuff like that. You can't do it. It's not sustainable in the Premier League. This is a real issue for Newcastle United. I feel like Aston Villa last season, where they were really good in the Champions League and then they tailed off in the Premier League. And it wasn't until they're out of the Champions League you start to see a resurgence from Villa in the Premier League. We're going the same route right now, and this is a real concern, and it's something that the manager needs to grab by the bollocks. He looked pissed off in the post-match, and I'm glad that he was. He said some serious things that he would have took everybody off if he could, and he hasn't felt that way since he started. So I hope he gets into the lads at training on Monday morning and he fucking tells them straight that they were out, they were shit, it wasn't good enough, and that's not the kind of standards that we set as a football club. But big changes are needed, big calls and big balls from you this week, Eddie Howe. I want Nick Pope out that side. I want Dan Burn out at left back. I know you're shouting, I can't do that, Chris. Fuck me. You can't tell me there's not a kid in the academy who could do a better job at left back than Dan Burn. I'm sorry. You can't tell me that. Give a kid a chance. Give a young lad a chance. What about Leo Shahar or something like that? Really good player. I know he plays right back, but why not bring him in, and give him a turn, But if Lewis Hall's even fucking 60% fit, let him start the game. Give him an hour, get in front, in a good, comfortable scoreline, and then take him off, right? I know he said Lewis Hall's been trained once this week, and that's why he was never going to come off the bench. But the Dan Burn left back thing, I'm so over it. He's not a left back. He's a really good centre half, right? But he's not as good as Sven Botman, so you can't play him ahead of Sven Botman, and he's not as good a left back as Lewis Hall, so you can't play him there either. So all this shit about getting Dan Burn in the side because of his leadership and this and all this other stuff, that's great, and what he brings is excellent. I'm not going to diminish what Dan Burn is, but as a footballer, he ain't as good as him, and he ain't as good as him. So elite managers, Eddie Howe, make those decisions and make those calls, and you need to do that as well. But let me know in the comments below what you think about what's going on. What's your biggest concern? Is it our identity? Is it the fact we can't capitalise being 1-0 up? Are you like me? Are you thinking some of these players now have reached the highest point of the club and are starting to turn back down? Joe Linton, Nick Pope, Dan Burn. Are all those players starting to dip back down? Are we just massively hampered because of the injuries to Tino and Hall? Is that the biggest issue, or is there more behind the scenes for you? And how do you feel about Eddie Howe right now? I'm not calling for Eddie Howe to be out. I think he's got enough credit in the bank at this club to have more time, and I think he can turn this around, but he needs to make some big boy decisions as a manager, and he needs to make them right fucking now. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Drop a like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you don't miss anything from the channel. Have a bell, everyone. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you on Wednesday against Bilbao.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.